Hi guys, Brain here, and today I have a little bit of a different video today. I guess it's so I just want to like do a little bit of diagnosis, I guess, kind of try to debunk some of the reasons that we can't seem to come to this great understanding of what would be good for game health, because I think that's the thing that a lot of people want the game health in general to be better. And I feel, especially with like this mid chapter update that's coming, that a lot of people have been really focused on like what their idea of what game health would be, because some of that lines up with the mid chapter and some of it doesn't. And a lot of people really care about game health, but for some reason so many of us have such wildly and vastly different opinions on what game health is and what game health should be for the game. And some people spout the most just like backwards, awful, just terrible takes about this game, just god awful. Just like literally, if these things came to pass that you want for the game actually would objectively die. A lot of people are like, this match chapter is going to kill the game. I've listened, I've YouTubed for a long time. I've looked at your comments, I read your comments. Some of you guys have awful ideas for this game. Like, some of you guys are either super killer biased or super survivor biased, but we'll get into that. And you just like, the ideas that you have are just bad for the game. And it's just like, it makes me wonder, how do we get to this point? So it made me like sit and think. I'm like, where do we go wrong? Where do I get these comments of people saying that we should be able to just like camp people in basement for free? Where do I get these comments of like, oh well, killers just shouldn't have anything because they're already the power role? Like why do I get these, like, why? It's not even just my community, but it's just like communities across DVD, like the whole DVD community has just like these really off the wall ideas about improvements for the game. And it's just like, I don't know, how do we never ever seem to land on the same page? Why can't we seem to agree on what game health is? So I've kind of thought about at least three big things I think are majorly contributing. I'm not saying these are the only three things, but I would say that these are the three big things that contribute a lot, if not the most, to our situations and why we can't seem to agree on what game health is. Obviously, the first and biggest one, which I already alluded to, is the tribalism that happens in this game. Killer bias versus survivor bias. It's a tale as old as time. Many videos have been made about it by people way bigger and way smarter than me. But if we're talking about like what makes game health hard to agree on, clearly the sides are probably the biggest component to that. It's hard to see what is best for the game when you're constantly worried about in the back of your mind what the other side is going to abuse and what the other side is going to do to you if you make the game health better. And I think often what happens is something that is better for the game health needs to happen for the opposing side, and people resist it because that's not their side, and they have extreme hatred and biases for the other side. So even if something is better for the game health, they will actually actively go against it or block it from happening, or, you know, outrage about it. I'm getting ahead of myself though. Outrage about it so they can make it not happen. And these thoughts are fanned by content creators who ask for the viewers to always never question anything, always follow their lead, never think independently, and just parrot what they say, because they too have their own biases and have their own views on what the game health should be based on their own biases, based in their own sides of the game that they prefer. So they're trying to like paint this wall of like, no, this is just better. This is just what's great for the game. And it's really just them also participating in this kind of tribalism like effect that this game has between the killer bias and the survivor bias. And like, I can't tell you how many times somebody will say something like really off the wall in my comment section, and it's like it's prefaced or ended with, well, so and so YouTuber said this, and it's just like, well, that's not helping either. That is because they're content creators does not mean that like they may not have their own biases, they may not have a preferred side that they really want to have catered to more than the other. So it feels like I'm kind of like, it feels like, especially in my case, I end up like pseudo arguing with other YouTubers, because so many of the YouTubers just kind of like really want their community, almost said their fans, their community, to only adopt their viewpoints and only adopt the ways that they think. So they come into like my community, and then they're parroting what they said, and then we have to fight with them. And it's like, we want both sides to feel good. We want both killer and survivor to feel good, no matter what side we're playing, no matter if we make content for that side or not. We want that side to feel good. We want people to keep playing our game because by and large it's a good game. and we want the game to keep going so we can all enjoy it. We can enjoy playing it. We can enjoy making content for it. We can take in all of the game. And it's just, I don't know, it just frustrates me a lot that like this is one of those things that like it's not even this isn't even a game thing. This isn't a game thing. This is like a people thing. We are so invested in our side winning that we will literally tear down the house we live in, tear down the health of the world that we live in, because we want our side to win so freaking badly. I think the second big thing is that there's just this huge misunderstanding of like how the game works. Like comes down to different play styles, different killers, different levels of experience, mostly that last one. It's just hard to see the game in an objective way when there's so many different ways to experience the game that even comes down to like build choice, perk choice, add-on choice. Like it's so hard to see the game correctly or in a objective way that would be good to examine game health. Like for example, a killer who's like starting out probably thinks Lithe is a really OP perk because all they have to do is vault a window and then they're just gonzo. Like they just flop the window, they vault the window, and they just go zooming away. If you're new to the game, you probably see that perk as really dumb because you're trying to catch them through the window, and if you happen to miss, they're just flying away, and that seems dumb. But like if you've played the game a little bit, you understand that, well, Lithe isn't guaranteed. It's not always smart to vault a window to get your Lithe because that could be dangerous. Sometimes people greed to get their exhaustion perk and they end up getting hit through the window. So there's actually a lot of like thought and ideas that go into, should I vault here or should I not? So it's a little bit more fair than you think. However, with so many players in different parts of their DBD journey, it's just really hard to come to a consensus on what is objectively helping or hurting the game. And this is where like off the wall statements of like, oh well, Pig's OP comes into the game. It's because they just don't get it yet. Like they're just not at the point that the rest of us are at. Most of the people that are trying to have like, I think that's what I'm saying is like, oh, I'm not saying that like people who are newer to the game shouldn't have their own sort of viewpoints about the game and how it should be, but you got to understand that if you haven't played that long, you're not an expert yet. You don't know how a lot of this stuff goes. I'm still learning so much about this game, and I have almost 3,000 hours under my belt. Like I have played this game for almost 2 years straight, still learning stuff, still improving stuff every day. And I can't imagine what it'd be like if I was like sitting here at like 30 or 300 hours and trying to tell you how to play the game and how the overall game balance of the game should be. But so often you see people on the forums, so many people in people's YouTube and Twitch communities kind of like spouting these ideas about like what the game should be like and what the game is. And I understand that, like, you know, we're tying it back to this again, you may watch content creators who like to talk about those sort of things, but by and large, content creators who talk about those sort of things usually have thousands and thousands and thousands of hours under their belt. And that's why they're talking about the stuff they're talking about, because they have played the game. They're playing the game with a lot of experience under their belts, so they have a better idea of what's going on and a better understanding of the game. They have a more intimate understanding of what's going on, so they are more able to see what is going on in a little bit more of an objective state. Not always, but it's easier to see what is actually like harming the game health when you've been with the game for a while. So it's just, if you're in that position where you're like newer to the game and you're still learning and you're still trying to understand, maybe not make objective sweeping statements of like, this character is OP, when you're still learning and you're still getting better. Like you're allowed to have thoughts, feelings, and opinions. Like it's totally fine. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying like maybe have the self-awareness that maybe I'm still learning. Maybe I'm still, compared to a lot of people who do try to enact these conversations, maybe I'm a little underprepared. Maybe I'm still a fledgling DVD player. Maybe I'm still trying to figure out what's going on. So I feel this way, and there's got to be something valid to that feeling, but that doesn't necessarily mean I am speaking the truth, if that makes sense. And I think that in general, that general lack of awareness is also tied with something else that I feel like is probably one of the biggest reasons that we can't come to a game health decision. And that's because this community is an outrage community. This community is just, it's very emotional to say the least. They often let like specific instances of pain and frustration outweigh truth, facts, and data. And I made a full rant about this already. I'll put that up here or something, wherever YouTube puts that stuff now. I made a whole video on confirmation bias in this game. It was a whole rant because it made me so mad. But it fits here too, because like honestly, this is one of the huge reasons we can't move forward with game health in this game. Somebody who whines, "Oh, pig's OP," they probably solo queued. And they ended up with 3 teammates that maybe weren't pulling their weight, and maybe the pig was dumpstering them. Maybe the pig was like slamming on them. So the response to that annoying game that was frustrating objectively, like it was a bad experience for them, and you know, that's just an experience that they objectively had. Their takeaway is pig is OP. Now, there could be many factors that could have led to why that match with that pig was frustrating. Bad teammates, bad maps, bad builds. But so many players just often look for the external reasons that something bad is happening, and not anything internal or something that they could have had control over, or something that was even on their specific side. And even I have problems with this, and it's almost like synonymous to the community at this point. It's like, it's hard, and it's just really hard to do that. And that's also why you see so much discourse in the after chats, because players just can't figure out the real cause of like a frustrating event that has happened to them. And it's like we start turning on each other like we're rabid animals. We just start turning on each other. It's like whatever emotion hit first, it's often the one that we regard as the truth. And that takes place of what really happened, and we really attach ourselves to that emotion that we had in that moment, or frustration that we have with that specific perk or that specific character, and we equate that to, well, that's a factual objective experience. And that's not how that works. We can't come to a consensus on game health if most people's opinions on the game are enforced only by emotions and subjective experiences. This is why we've brought up content creator for every single point here. That's why players like Odds are so important for the game. Content creators like Odds are so important for the game, because they're always digging for facts, data, and back their experiences with a lot of hours and hours and hours and hours and thousands of hours of this experience. They're backing these things with things that are more objective than, oh well, I had this awful experience, so that's why this is bad, or I'm just really mad right now, so this thing needs to go, you know? Yeah, so I'm gonna can it there, guys. This video is already getting pretty long, and I've already made a ton of really long videos concerning the PTP situation. So I'm gonna ask you, which of these 3 things do you think most contributes to people unable to see or help within game health? Is it the tribalism? Is it the misunderstanding of the game? Is it the outrage community aspect? Or is there a 4th thing that you think is actually secretly like the worst thing that actually affects people's understanding or ability to help out with game health? Is there a 4th reason that I have not talked about? 4th, 5th? Let me know down in the comments below. But then that's gonna be it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching, hanging out with me today, but I will see you tomorrow, because I do upload daily. But if I don't see you tomorrow, friends, I will see you when I see you. Goodbye.